Hello, everyone. Welcome to another show, Career Talk with IT Professionals. And today's guest is a technology lead. But before we begin, 71% of you are not yet subscribed. So I would appreciate it if you now currently hit that subscribe button. Please do hit that subscribe button and notification bell as well. Right. And so my special guest for today is actually my cousin, right? He's also in the IT field. My guest is Mr. Gerald Quisumbing. Can you say hi,
Hi.
please?
Yeah, hi.
Hello, everyone. So let's go with the first question immediately, which is I don't know if I should call you sir, no? Pero maybe naturally I'll just call you.
Probably not.
I'll just call you by Kuya, no? Kuya. Kuya
Yeah,
Gerald. More
yeah,
natural for me. No?
yeah.
Can you describe to us what a technology lead is?
Well, technically, in BPI, that's a person who sits between the business. So it sits between the business and the technology groups. Um, so when he's talking to the business people, he's a technologist. But when he's talking to the technology guys, he's a business person. So that's kind of like that. But I'm currently in a relatively small startup, so um, I do a mix of things. So I do the product concept. Sometimes I work on the architecture. When we're shorthanded, I do the a good part of the implementation, and it can't be helped that you do pre-sales and support as well.
Okay, I see. And since you said when you're short-handed, konti lang yung tao, no? Does this mean that you still code? You're actively coding, and in your company, what's your stack?
Yeah. So yeah, I code. I usually um for quite a while I've been doing Python, but lately I've been moving toward Golang.
Go lang. Mhm.
Yeah. Although for in the past I started with basic VB.net and Basica, that stuff. But um, these days, my focus is really around Python and Golang.
Python and Go. So you did mention a little bit already about how you started, no? But maybe we can go back a little bit further, and from college, especially since a lot of our audience will be either in college or just graduated from college. Maybe you can tell us your journey since then up to now.
Yeah, sure. So this is quite a while back. So um, uh, back then there was no MIS in the Ateneo University. So I actually um, well, to to bridge that gap, I was just doing like CS electives,
Mhm.
and but ultimately I decided to graduate with a psych degree.
Psych.
Um, yeah. Some of my batchmates decided to stick around and pursue the MIS, but I just opted for the psych degree. And eventually we, together with my brothers, we put up a startup. Um, just at the end of the dot-com crisis.
Mhm.
So arguably not the best time. But that venture lasted quite a bit. We stayed there some 8-10 years maybe. Um, Eventually, um, well, when we started, we really, I really didn't know anything about business back then.
Mhm.
So um, ultimately, I decided to take up masters in technology management, and so right now I'm exploring AI. Well, um, it really meets up with my interest in psych. So
Mm.
um, it's the fusion of not just bringing the human component to it, but also um, cognitive psych perspective. So man as a computing entity.
Wow. Interesting thought, no? Man as a computing entity. Um, and since you do have that site background, how does that translate to your management style? You know, when you since you have that IT background and but you have that very good site background, how does that affect how you look at your team?
Um, hmm. Well, I think you. I don't know about the others, but in general, I take a lot of interest in growing people,
Mhm.
and but personally, my management style is generally to stay out of people's way. We provide them with the tools, provide them with whatever they need, grow them, but I prefer to stay out of the way as much as possible.
I see. And in terms of, you know, since you are the one leading the team and, you know, bringing that new value or at least growing them, no? Is that something you look for, or how do you find that when you're hiring first? No? Because when you're hiring, it's not yet apparent to you exactly what they will bring immediately, right? So how do you hire? What's your style for hiring?
Hmm. That's the interesting thing about hiring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people don't know how to hire actually.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, um, you you can say that maybe education helps, but I've encountered people from everywhere else deliver good results. So I think at the end of the day, you really have to test. You really have to, and this is something that everybody does, but um, you what we u- what I usually do is make sure that a person has generally good grasp of the fundamentals. Um,
Fundamentals.
yeah, yeah. As long as the fundamentals are there, then you can be creative afterwards. But as if the fundamentals are not there, it's not practical for a company to inject those fundamentals. So yeah.
Maybe you can expand more on these fundamentals. Is this like again our audience will ask, is this the for loops or what kind of fundamentals are we looking at? You know what is fundamental and what is advanced in other words.
Good question. Well, it depends, right? Depends on what you're hiring for. So, like, if I'm looking for a back-end developer, I will I will look at, does he understand Swagger? Does he understand REST? Can he build a simple REST structure? So yeah, that kind of thing. So, but if we're talking about front end, um, it would have to be, does he understand? Does it at least look good?
That's true. Front end, I has to look good. Yes.
Yeah. So it depends. It depends on the role really.
Right. 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 Yeah. Going back to you, know, currently, what are you passionate about
Um.
aside
Well,
from Golang? No.
yeah, I hinted on this, but I really believe in reinventing tomorrow with AI. So, in my current company, um, we work with medical AI and manufacturing AI. But I think really AI for me has the potential to remove the mundane stuff, the the tedious stuff, so that we can concentrate on more creative stuff.
Right, that's interesting, no? And if you can just give a few thoughts on, AI is also very large. If
True.
IT is large, AI is also very large. Even AI, there's a section in machine learning, reinforced learning. Which area do you see yourself, and maybe the future is more concentrated on?
Oh, that's a totally big topic, definitely. Because current um current AI is really based on um tabula rasa, so to speak, AI,
Mhm.
right? AI does not really know anything, and he has to you have to inject the knowledge. But I think eventually in the future, um, and back then the Chomsky perspective on AI, where there are um, pre-knowledges injected to an AI, it was not um, considered very practical, and it wasn't um, even feasible back then. But I think now with advances in computing power, especially, and advances in AI, I think it's very very possible to do hybrid approaches, I think.
Mhm. And for our next question, it's a little related to AI, no, or maybe not, which is how do you deal with unexpected, right? I mean, even in AI or in life in general, there's always something that comes by unexpectedly. Um, it's not a perfect system. Um, I believe there's really a no bug free system myself, no? How do you deal with this kinds of curveballs?
Um, I try to make sure that there's as little of them as possible. So I do a lot of scenario planning. So
Scenario planning.
yeah, I try to make sure that there's very few of them to begin with. As I During the earlier part of this pandemic, when people were thinking that um, it's just like a cold virus,
Like a flu,
um,
no? That's what they
like
say.
a flu, and I was saying, you know, um, sometimes it's just about the scale, right? If you have one raindrop, it's easy. But once you have too many raindrops, then you have a flood.
Yes.
So same thing. I try to have as little of them as possible, and then you just like have to I control my breath basically.
Mhm.
Try to pace myself to handle these unexpected.
Right. No, I like that analogy, the raindrop and to the flood. No, that's true. It's also the size also affects, and the frequency. No,
Yeah, yeah.
that's true. So both quantity and quality. Right. Um, our next question is more towards, many IT professionals would like to be successful, and actually that's one of their criteria for taking an IT, because maybe their parents, or especially the parents, now they say, oh, IT, that's a successful field. Yeah. For you yourself, how do you define success, or what makes you successful?
Um, I think I've met a lot of IT professionals who do not perform as well um, because they they allow what they don't know to define them.
Hmm, okay.
So whenever I encounter something that I don't understand or don't know, um, I take it my personal effort to learn about it. um, you can't let your respective companies, you can't just depend on your respective companies to feed you all the knowledge and tools that you need. You have to seek them out yourself.
Mhm.
So I think that's it's a big component of where I am now, and I think I've observed that um, tends to hinder other people as well. They punch in, they punch out, um, they go out the office door, and or the virtual office, they totally forget about what what they need to learn.
Mm. I see. Interesting, no? But I think you would agree that IT is a there's a lot of people who found success also in IT, right? So
Sure, sure, sure.
there's a few people who you said got defined on or had a hard time or maybe the misinformation they didn't grow themselves anymore. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
in IT, there's still a lot of success, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole lot of people have been successful. Even people you way back in college you would not expect them to have succeeded, but yeah, they've I've met people like that too. So um, yeah, there's a luck element involved to that as well. I think it's not just work. There's also a certain bit of luck involved as well.
And siguro on this last question, no, which is maybe a little bit on luck or how do you find luck or in some languages they ask how to be you po, no, or what is your advice for our audience that wanna succeed in tech or in IT in general.
Um, I would say never stop learning. I think that's the most important thing. Never stop learning, and yeah, well, I think there's a famous saying that goes like I think it's from Gandhi. So it's like um, live as if you're going to die tomorrow, probably up, but learn as if you're going to live forever. So
Mm,
I go by those words.
wow, interesting. No? So you said live as if you die tomorrow, but learn as if you live forever in a sense. No?
Uh huh.
Very
Uh huh.
interesting. Right. And this is the advice that you would give yourself, like if you're back to 18, no? If you could go back to your old self time machine and you say, follow these words, that's what you would say.
Sure, sure. I've been following that for quite a while.
All right. All right. So, guys, that's our last question. Thank you for being with us for this entire 18 plus minutes, going to 20. And of course, if you like our content or if you have questions also for Kuya Gerald, you're gonna follow up. You can always put it in the comment section below, right? You can ask your questions there, and I'll be the one to forward it to him as well, right? And again, that's it. Thank you very much, and I hope and good luck to your IT careers. Bye,
Yeah, thanks for
everyone.
having me, man. Bye.
Sure. Thank you. Also, bye.
Bye.
And of course, if you like our content, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.